Big us, everyone.
Us.
Welcome to the Kyokushin Shuffle. And as I always have, a very special guest. And this one, probably one of the special guests that I've had for a while. He's a mentor to me. He's been a part of my life for the past 10 to 15 years, but more so for those out there. He's probably the reason I've met my wife. He's probably the reason I've had 3 kids. He's probably the reason. So
a lot of responsibility there on me now.
Okay, so everyone, please let me introduce you. He's known as Hammer, but it's crew Mark Castagnini from Hammer's Gym. Hammer, good afternoon. How are you? Thank you for chatting to us.
Us, everybody. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much, Hammer. Yes, I've been trying to get you on because I feel you're an integral part of, my life, and also in respect of what you've brought to martial arts. And of course, my audience has a Kyokushin flavor to it, but the shuffle component is that it's attracted to all martial artists around the world. And I guess, what we're going through, let's just clear the air, and the influence that you've had on social media has been unbelievable. And of course you have a massive, voice and profile. So, my dojo's in your facility, which I'm blessed to, be a part of the Hammers Gym family in that respect. And, I guess let's just clear the air with the COVID side and so on. And, and your message to those out there.
Well, it's, this has become a bit of a cause for me now. I've sat back patiently and respected the situation we're all in. Got to me a little bit when people were running around saying the thing didn't exist and it's all a fake, and because I've actually had a relative pass away from COVID, and she was someone that was in the nursing home there at Faulkner, which was a complete debacle, obviously. My family my broader family has been affected by it. Right. And at the start, it was interesting because I was looking at everything too. You look at the 3G stuff, 5G stuff. Yeah. 3G is more the technology that I operate on, but because it was such a shock to everybody. You're like, wow, this is crazy times. How can we deal with this? So I looked at everything, and you sort of do. Social media is good in a lot of ways, but it's very bad in a lot of other ways, many ways also. So there was a few things even influencing me at one point, and I thought, well, I just got to check myself and do the research. Everyone says do the research, so I did. And I reserved my judgments and took a conservative approach. But then, when it impacts on your family, and there's students from this gym, Pat, that, and I know, that work in healthcare, and they were messaging me saying, this is real. This is no game. They got it. They've seen people affected by it. And then invariably they also were affected by it and had to go into quarantine. So look, yes, it impacts on people that are compromised health-wise, definitely. People that are healthy and have good immune systems, of course, will battle it a lot better. But and then I got, just to digress for a moment, I come in contact with not one, not two, but about 3 or 4 guys that had it, all tested positive. So when there was the first shutdown and then the second time people were going out and starting to go to restaurants, they actually went to a restaurant and they come in contact with someone with it and they were infected by it. And myself and my fiance were both, had met these guys. And then lo and behold, a few days later, they sent a message saying, oh, you got to go get tested because we've got it. So because we were in such close proximity, you may have it. So that was real stressful, and I had to wait like 4 days to get the results. So I've never been happier to receive any text message in my life than the one that said you're clear. We both got it, so we're very but we isolated and we did all the right things, which is hard. But we're still together, so that's good. But certainly tested it. But such a roller coaster ride. And now our industry is impacted. And when I say our industry, everyone's talking about opening gyms, but the broader problem is what I'm dealing with now in the fact of, and this was what my broadcast or my message out was about the other day. Because a lot of people talk about gyms and weight training and all that, and that's fine because that's part of my business too. Yes. But I feel the martial arts industry has been well neglected because our training is done in close proximity. There isn't a lot of equipment to wipe down because our equipment is ourselves in a lot of ways. Yeah. So it impacts on our training, and we can do line work, and we can do drilling, and we can do long range noodle work and stuff like that, which I've adapted my training to be able to do. And I'm sure a lot of other instructors out there have done the same. But we're still sort of forgotten. And, you know, from the kids' classes to the adult classes, and everyone's like, oh, you can just do Zoom classes. And someone sent me a message today about Zoom saying what my numbers are. You know, we average 20 odd people plus, depending. But man, I don't love it. I don't love it. I am old school. I like that. You know, you want to have someone in front of you. I can see the intricacies of their movements. I can see they're flaring their elbow when they punch. I can see their foot rotation. You can't see someone's foot rotation in the middle of the night in the garage in the dark. I'm seeing nothing. I'm like, correcting. I don't know what I'm correcting. I can't see anything. So it really takes that element out of our teaching, and it's a lot of guesswork. So you know, the full gamut of it is we need to get back to the dojo. We need to do it safely. The studies that I've seen from the University of Oslo, and I've done my own research, it shows if transmission is low, it's safe to be in gyms, it's safe to train, and you've got about as much chance of getting COVID in a gym as you have in a cafe or anything else. They talk about exertion, and because, you know, the droplets and everything travel further when you're exerting yourself because it's coming from deeper in your lungs, and I get that. But the studies are still, that's somewhat still theory, you know. Okay, yes, it can happen. But that can happen, you know, if we're wearing masks. It's not going to be comfortable to train with a mask, but I'm sure a lot of people would rather train with a mask on than not train at all. I know I would. You know, so there's, you know, that's a whole argument for a whole other day, perhaps.
No, well, there you go. So no, we've cleared the air. We had to, you know, your influence in what has just happened, more so in Melbourne, with yourself and Tony Doherty, and being on radio, and again, the profile figure that you are within the industry, and so forth, and your experience and being around martial arts nearly your whole life, you know, and that's what we're going to go. That's what we're going to go into. Yeah, go with Tony.
I was going to say, Tony just sent me a message right now as we speak. Tony and a couple of other key industry players are in a meeting with the state government. I was on a long conference call last night with these key players, and I won't divulge more than that because we're trying to be unified and organised to approach the government. So it's not just coming from, you know, one body like Fitness Australia. There's a lot of other gyms, a lot of other businesses being represented. We should be represented as a group. So hopefully this afternoon there'll be some news. We're a bit pessimistic on it being anything positive though, because we are getting the runaround. So yeah, it's a very much an outside chance, and we got to sit tight. One thing I will give you the exclusive here. I've put something forward to the government, and I've got a preliminary okay, and that's to do a live-in Warriors Way lockdown here. So I'm going to get fighters in. We're going to create our own bubble. I'm gonna be have a, you know, TV crew in here filming all the backstage stuff, or filming it. It's going to be I suppose a pseudo reality documentary. Is the best way I can describe it. So, you know, I worked on the Contender many years ago, and I thought, you know, the size of our facility here, brother. It's over 2,000 square meters. Got many areas. So I can, you know, and for it to be sitting dormant. And I'm still paying bills, so I'm like, well, I've got to pay these bills. Place is empty. How can I turn this negative into a positive? And what I thought was, I'm going to lobby the government to be able to do this in a very safe manner. We get the fighters in here. They live in here. They train together. They eat together. They sleep together. Then they random fight off, and then they can be eliminated, and we go on to a final. It's a struggle to get this happening. So I'm going to test everybody's commitment to the industry a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'll put prize money and I'll fund a bit of it, but I'm also going to set up a GoFundMe page, and I'm going to say, all you people out there, tell me how much you love the sport. Whatever they donate is going to go to the winner of the tournament, of the event. So it's not money for me. I need money to help me with the production. but the bulk of the money is going to go to the fighter that wins it. So there's a couple of test cases I'm going to be running here. One is to see how much support actually people are going to put their money where their mouth is. Because we all hear, you know, I love it. I'm in with you, brother. All of that. Well, you know, just throw something. It's not for me. This will be for the winner and the production to make this happen, so people can sit at home and watch it and enjoy it. And our sport and martial arts generally still has some sort of exposure, some sort of you know, publicity about it. So there's something that I've been holding under my
well, thank you for sharing
close
that.
Close to my chest, and now I'm going to start launching it. But I've got a preliminary okay, and hopefully by the time this comes out, I'll have the official okay to go ahead with it. So,
well, this just goes to show, and I'm pumping the tires up as I respectfully want to here. This just shows the innovative ways of Mark Castagnini. This shows the never stops thinking of others, never stops thinking of revolutionizing the game. He's been around a long, long time. So this is why I know we've got, I keep it to an hour, but we'll do our best, because this journey is one that needs to be shared. And you've been on other podcasts, you've been on other shows, you're on Foxsports, you're a profile figure, like we've said, but this is now, you and I get along to a fun extent. We make each other laugh. That's the part of my day that I love, when I get to talk to you. Yeah, we've had moments, but that's people. But the cool, fun parts are the martial arts stories, and the highlights that you've had, and the experience that you employed me at Blitz, and we can talk about that. And that's where I met Alila, my beautiful wife, and I'll blame you for all the rest. However, so Hammer, I always ask my guests, and thank you for that exclusive and your COVID situation. Let's get to it. You started martial arts. Why? What was it? What got you into it? Give us an understanding. The others that have shared it with me have been, it was a pamphlet. It was my uncle. It was my cousin. It was my mate. How did you, and why did you get started in it?
Well, I had a bit of a challenging childhood. My stepfather has passed away now. God rest his soul. Was a hard man, and I had a few challenges as a young man. I suppose I grew up in Northcote, a suburb here. It was quite an industrial suburb in Melbourne some years back. You know, Northcote Tech. I think most of the kids I went to school with either dead or in jail, or guys. You know, was a bit of a rough and ready school. I grew up around a lot of guys that from colourful families and backgrounds, and one of my friends who I went to primary school with, his father was actually a kung fu instructor. So as a kid, and I'm talking primary school age, would be doing the different. He'd be showing me things his dad was teaching him, but I did a little bit of training initially with him. Then did some training with another boy whose father was a judo instructor. Just a little bit of stuff in backyard at home with the parents and this that with their parents. Nothing really formal. Sure. Long story short, my stepfather didn't believe in any recreational activities. He believed you work, you get a trade, and you provide for your family, and that's it. I was quite a good footballer when I was a kid as well. I played for the Richmond Little League back in the day when the Little Leagues had teams. You had to go to training and you were picked for the team. There was no schools and everyone gets a high five and everyone gets a medal. There was none of that. If you shit, you don't get to play. So that was my. So I got a few games.
That's the early 1900s, then, mate.
So I got a few games with Richmond Little League. I played on I think we're close to where you used to live, which is out at the VFL Park back in the day. Yes. Yep. So it was an education. But my stepfather, he didn't believe in any of it. He goes, "Nah, that's rubbish. You're going to learn a trade, you work." And that was, so I was immersed in a family business. I worked 12 hours a day, 6 days a week for most years of my late teens and early 20s in a family business where I'm actually an antique restorer and upholsterer by trade, French polishing and upholstery. So we had a pretty good little family business, worked for a lot of high-end people. Anyway, long story short, I was a frustrated, martial artist from primary school, I suppose. So I walked into where our shop was. There was a second-hand shop next door. And on my lunch break, I was lucky to be allowed to go out the front door once. And I went out and I found a book. And it was a book about martial arts. And so I bought this book. I think I have it on my bookshelf somewhere. I'll have to, it's a pity I wasn't ready for the question. I would have had it anyway. I bought this book and I wasn't allowed out. I wasn't allowed to have friends. I wasn't allowed to go to school camps or any of that. So I just had this book and I used to train in my bedroom with the movements. And I remember there was some really, like it was black and white. It was, you know, it was a great book. And there was a picture of, you know, different strikes, you know, all the old strikes and the movements. And I polished these, you know, on my own. I practiced and worked these on my own, and I did the conditioning and all the rest of it. Anyway, long story short, I ended up leaving the family business. I wanted to move out of home, and my stepfather was, well, if you leave home, you leave the job. So good luck to you. See you later. So I left home, and I'm living in my one-bedroom flat in North Caulfield, and I thought now's the time for me to try and find somewhere to train. And I was going to a weights gym at the time, and they used to have karate classes in one of the aerobic rooms, and I was watching it, and I remember seeing this Japanese guy, and he had his leg up against the door jamb, like doing splits, and I was like, man, that looks impressive. So I went up to the karate instructor there at the time, and I said, this gym wasn't close to my house; it was close to my work, which was a way away. It was in Burwood. And I said to the instructor, I want to do this, and he goes, well, where do you live? And I said, I live in Caulfield. And he goes, well, you want to go and train? Sorry, you want to get this? I've done a couple of different things here. I went, so he said, you got to, well, where do you live? I said, I live in Caulfield. He said, well, you got to go here to this hall. And I went to the church hall, and there was a karate class going on. And I'm like, I come to join, and it's a very colourful looking gentleman that I suppose we all know now as the great Shihan Emin. It's like, yes, come and train, yes. And I'm like, all right. So I did the first class, but there's parallels in life that sometimes you wonder about, and the parallel of this was, that was the start of my formal karate and martial art rebirth training. Yes. My 21, 22, whatever I was, and I've trained pretty much every day, every week since. Yep. The book that I bought from that secondhand bookshop when I was 15. So I left school at 15. Right. Was the Budo Karate of Masoyama, and it was a book, and I remember because there was a picture in the book. And I had a dude doing a back fist, and it was like that. His nose was pushed like that. You see that? Like, and I'm like, I want to do that to someone. So I love this book, but there was, out of all the books in the world that I picked up on martial art, I picked up that book. Out of all the gyms and all the martial art schools I could have gone to, I ended up at a Kyokushin school or club that was what this book was written, about. It was like, boggles my mind how the parallels come together. And so all this stuff I was practicing in my bedroom on my own, I'm like, I've done that. I've seen that before. And I did it so many hundreds of times in my bedroom on my own through this book, probably very badly, which was why Eddie used to just shake his head when he looked at me doing any sort of technique. It's like, so going back to my first lesson, because this is one of my favorite stories. Yeah. I had very low self-esteem. Yeah. I actually considered, suicide and all that a number of times. I don't like to talk about, because I think talking about it too much only makes people think about it. So in some ways it's good to talk about that deep issue, but I don't. So my self-esteem was low, let's put it that way. I didn't believe in myself. I had a lot of anger issues. I was an angry young man because of all the hurt I'd been through for so many years. Anyway, so we did the lesson, and I was very bad, and it was probably terrible to look at for everyone concerned. And at the end, it's like, all right, everybody, sit-ups on the ground. We're on the ground and we're doing these sit-ups and everyone's killing themselves. And, you know, I'm doing my best to impress him, as you do as a new student. You want your instructor to go, you're the karate kid. I want to train you. He wasn't thinking that about me at all. He's probably thinking, I wish this kid would leave faster than he came in. So,
it's not like you're 5'10". You're 6'3", 6'4".
And I was, you know, I was all one of them. Yeah, definitely. I was skinny and I was all arms and legs. So anyway, we're doing our sit-ups and Eddie's going around. He's, you know, putting his foot on everyone's stomach, you know, tense. He gets to me and he's like, you know, tense. And I'm like, I'm tense and I'm tensing for all I'm worth. His foot's probably hitting my spine at that point. I was that skinny. And I'm trying. Next thing I look up and there he is. Shihan is about 4 foot in the air. I see his hair everywhere. His hair's out. His legs are up. He's jumping on me. I'm like, this guy's, I don't know him. Who is he? And he's jumping on me. I just met him a minute ago, you know? And he lands flat like this, bang, on my stomach. And at that point, I'm like, I seen him in the air. I thought, I don't know who this guy is or why he wants to kill me, but I'm dead now. And as he's landed on me, he's looked down at my face. And he goes, are you okay? And I looked up at him and I'm like, and again, it was one of those moments, I tell you, I looked up at him and he goes, you okay? And I'm like, yes. And at that time, I realized you're capable of much more than you will ever know, physically and mentally. And when he got off my stomach, I'm ready to take off the world. I'm ready to take on the world. I'm like, in that one gesture, and I'm like, I thought, you know, I've never been tested like that because it was just, you know, I never had that sort of, I had fights, this, that, but this is different. This is a totally different thing. And that was my awakening to martial arts and the power of your mind, the power of your self-belief. You're more capable of, you're capable of things you can't even believe you're capable of subconsciously. And that was one of the most important lessons. And that from that time on, I'm like, I'm coming back. This guy can jump on me all day, every day. I don't care because, and from there, you know, I become a very loyal student, and I loved it. I wasn't one for kata and all that. I just wanted to fight because I said I had a few little things going on, but I thought I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And Kyokushin made me mentally the most focused and the most confident in myself. It turned my life around. I everything I am and everything I've become, excuse me, there's some mental strength there that's been imparted in me from my stepfather, which I didn't understand at the time, but now I do. But also, it's about what I've got from you know, from the Kyokushin and from my teaching, from the teachings and from everything that it brings. So I will never forget that. It's good to know where you're going, but never forget where you came from. So that's why it's so strong in my memory.
You gestured that when you brought yourself, your fiance and your squad, you know, like about nearly 2 tables to Hanshi Eddie's tribute night that we held. I don't even remember, last year or the year before, and we had some profile guests that would talk on behalf, and you definitely, you know, shared that with the 200 guests that evening. So you've walked into this dojo, you've got Hanshi Eddie Emin all up in you. He's a renowned tough teacher, you know, and we're talking potentially, no disrespect, you know, I think it was, you know, mid 80s. Am I thinking here? Mid 80s or late 80s?
I'm trying to test my memories, but it was.
Around that. And what I'm gesturing is that the part here that you were, like you said, you know, you love the fighting side. Kyokushin would have embedded some toughness and all those traits that Kyokushin's renowned for. And, you know, you then had your opportunity to, you know, as many do, they go, right, this is great, this has been good for me, it's helped me, it's guided me, it's given me some direction, some focus and all that. And then your next step from after Kyokushin, or, you know, again, like respectfully, you know, moving forward, how did you see it? What did you see? Because some people I gesture with, was it the black belt, was it the this, was it the next fight, like what was it for you?
Well, first of all, I want to shout out to a couple of people that I know
Oh, yeah.
That have been, will probably be looking or
yes,
follow your broadcast. Bobby Lowe, being on the camp with Bobby Lowe and Hanshi Eddie. I still have my soul stone from that camp. Keep it with me. I still, kept that. I didn't understand about, but I appreciate it, and now it all makes sense to me. Wow. Being invited to sit there around the campfire and drink sake, with Hanshi and Bobby Lowe was, I'll never forget that. Trevor Elmsley, we were doing beach sprints. I popped my knee. He carried me from the beach back to the hut where we were staying, to the camp I thought, he was like just like Hercules, carried me back from the camp, from the beach. So, such brotherhood, such caring from the big fella. Trevor Frithie, scaring the absolute shit out of me for most of my time training at Elwood. Judd Reed, an inspiration. He was younger than me, and just seeing him train alongside Judd, go to tournaments, see him become Uchideshi, and how proud I am to be a part of that. That time, that era with him as well. And see him go off and do things that are truly inspiring. Of course, Billy, your Shihan Billy. So, again, all these years later, we come together through the Brotherhood of Kyokushin, because of the early days of seeing him at Elwood, being one of the black belts that I aspired to be like and looked up to. Sam Greco. These are all key people that I want to just pay tribute and homage to. So all those people have helped me, on my journey and been a part of my influence. And in some way have influenced me. And the fact that I'm bringing their names up now, I think it shows that I've never forgotten them. And there's a whole heap of other, there's guys of my own, Nenad Pessers, and there's a whole Gary Fligner, and there's a whole heap of guys that back in the day we train with. I still see, through social media, some people have moved on, passed on, and so forth. But love always for Kyokushin and everyone of that era. And to move along to how I moved from Kyokushin onto the other martial arts, to answer your question. I fought in a tournament, and it was the VIX, and I got to the final. And the winner of the final got to go to Hawaii to fight in the Bobby Lowe Cup in Hawaii. And I wanted that badly. And I made the final, and I drew a fighter from Elwood. So it was two Elwood people against each other. And I trained at Elwood at the old hall, and then helped build a dojo at the back of the squash court. So I remember our warm-up used to be to carry the wood from the street to the back building area. So, it was for all that too. But anyway, long story short, we fought, we drew, and it come down to a split decision. And the center referee made the decision, and it went against me. So I was a bit shattered with that. There was, at the time, there was a few things that impacted on things then. As it worked out, I shattered my knuckle, uppercutting to the elbow. When you're in close, and I fought with a lot of spirit. And I remember in between the rounds, there was a lovely lady backstage, pushing the blood out of our shins for us to fight again. All of that. It's like, wow, memories, love it. Yeah. And I fought my hand after. I unfortunately got into the final, didn't win, devastated that I wasn't, that was my dream, just to go to Hawaii, wasn't able to. I wouldn't have been able to anyway because my hand was broken, but there was a lot of political stuff happening then that made me a little bit disillusioned. I couldn't, my doctor said, you got to stop training for a while. Stop training. In that time, and then he said, you got to fight with gloves from now on. You can't do that anymore. Your hands are going to get arthritic and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, long story short, I then started to look at kickboxing and Muay Thai, kickboxing in particular. Yeah. And I remember going up to Hanshi Eddie and saying, what do you think of the kickboxing? Because that was big back then, kickboxing. And he's like, what? What do you want to kill your brain for? That's rubbish. The Kyokushin is the only way. I'm like, Yeah, but no buts.
You answered back.
Like,
how dare you?
Oh, all right. Okay,
Awesome.
I'll just go off with my busted ass hand and try not to become disabled from this whole experience. But, so, you know,
laugh. That's funny.
But long story short, I had to find a solution.
Yes, of course.
There was a few things happening then that led me to try kickboxing and boxing.
Yep.
I moved to. I wasn't training with anyone or anywhere. All I'd ever done was Kyokushin, and I was working on the door of a nightclub back then, and people knew I'd done a bit of martial arts because back then I used to stop fights just by kicking them in the legs because no one ever got kicked in the legs back then. You kick someone in the legs and they'd spasm up and look at you like you're some sort of alien, and then the fight was over. So there was no one punch. There was no one punch campaign needed. Because a one kick campaign ended it all.
Yeah.
So that was people knew I'd done martial arts. One kid come up to me one night and he goes, "Oh, you think you're pretty good? Here's a flyer." And it was a flyer for an open Muay Thai tournament at the Preston Town Hall, of which I went and entered. I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that." So I worked the Saturday night. Tournament was on the Sunday. Bit tired the next day. Thought I'd give it a go. Doesn't matter. Rolled up to this tournament. You know, there was Bob Jones was there, Craig Larson, all the boys from the BJC were there. Troy Philippek actually was come from Japan and started training then. And anyway, they said no, and I come rolled up with McGee and Usos and everywhere, and they're like, "Nah, mate, you don't need none of that stuff. Just you can leave your pants on, but you got to take your jacket off." And and they sold me a singlet. They, "What rank are you?" And I'm like, "Oh, 6Q or whatever it was," and they sold me a singlet that matched that, and they're like, "You'll be in the heavyweights." Anyway, I went in the heavyweight division, and I did well. Again, I got into the final. I took that. I think I got the trophy here somewhere. Just give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, go for it. Let's see if it's real.
So back then, they used to give out like massive trophies. So that's my trophy. So anyway, I think I come runner up in the heavyweight division. I did well, but I nearly had my head punched off my shoulders.
Yeah, right.
And I realized then that I needed to do some boxing. Anyway, at the end of the tournament presentations, the chief Bob Jones come up to me and he's like, "Oh mate, you done a bit of karate or taekwondo or something?" Because I was doing axe kicks and all of that. It was, I was pretty good with my legs. Yeah. And I said, I trained with Eddie Emin, but then he goes, "Oh yeah, Eddie is a legend. Only good things to say." I said, "Yeah, but I'm not really doing much now." And he invited me to train with Stephen Nadalkos at his gym, or his stables, what they call stables, and that's when I went through the BJC Muay Thai system, not Zendo Kai, because I thought Zendo Kai was still like karate, and I always had loyalty to Kyokushin. I'm like, if I want to do karate, I'll do Kyokushin, nothing else. But the Thai boxing was new, and I work with guys from New Zealand that work with Alex Tui and so forth. Wow. They showed me videos, and it was like hectic in New Zealand back then, Thai boxing. I'm like, man, I want to try that. That's like, I was never one for katas and all that. I was always a fighter predominantly. Yes. So I then started training with the BJC, and I went through and I got my black level, with the BJC. I had a team, all my security team. I had a heap of security guys working with me. We all used to train together because I'm like, we're going to learn this together, train together, work together. So that was my journey, I digressed from Kyokushin to Bob Jones and the Bob Jones Muay Thai system and started fighting from there. And I'll show you one more thing. Yeah. If you go and when I started fighting Muay Thai, have a look at these.
I turned it up a notch.
So they've gone from that.
Yeah. So the entry fee would have been $200 for that trophy. There.
No, that was actually an underground tournament at the South Melbourne Town Hall. We were told we were doing a seminar with Dave Hedgecock. I rolled up again, worked the night before in security. Rolled up in the morning to do this seminar, learned a couple of duck and weave, and they're like, you downstairs, you're going to be fighting. And I'm like, oh, all right.
Good seminar.
I'm like, what about the seminar? And they're like, no, you're right. You just go down. There was a doctor there, weighed us in, and they put me against another bouncer. So they knew that I'd worked around, and they've gone, he works at the Kilkenny, you work at blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you guys can fight each other, battle of the bouncers. So we punch the stuffing out of each other. And I got the big ass trophy with the ribbon.
Look
so
at that.
yeah,
You
mate.
would have loved it. Driving home, go down.
Yeah, driving home.
Down the street with that.
Yeah, had it out the window. So I may not have gone to Hawaii, but I had a fight at South Melbourne Town Hall and got a trophy. So I was happy.
That's it. Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly why I put this show together, Hammer, and you've typified, mate, because I put this show because of stories like this. There's no way, and I've heard a couple of them because we've worked together and been, I've sat in your office many evenings after sessions and so forth, but too many people out there know you for the Warriors Way promoter, Muay, Foxsports specialist commentator, but I know the Hammer that is a martial artist. I know the Hammer that told me these stories from the get-go, that's seen it from this era to so on. And that, I guess, is, leads me to, your influence. And for many out there that listen to this, the reason why Blitz Martial Arts Magazine, the reason why International Kickboxer started, and so many other things that was at your disposal, why these pictures and articles were all put together, was because of Silvio Morelli as such, but the biggest side of it as well was yourself. And I'd like you to share a little bit there, as to, again, that could be a 5-hour discussion, but I guess it's just sharing how you got to there, how you put this together. And I know the people that are listening I've got the Masayama picture behind me from the Blitz magazine. I got 19, and that means the world to me, right? Because when I came up, I was like, hold on, I've got that. I've seen that man before. Where have I seen him before? So go for it. The floor is yours.
Well, I met, like going back to those days of training, martial arts was my life, man. Like, I used to buy Australasian Fighting Arts. I used to buy Combat Magazine from the UK. I used to buy Black Belt from America. And of course, Blitz from Australia. This to show my age. All the kids that are going, what the hell are magazines? Anyway, for the old timers, I'm throwing that out there.
That's it.
So I used to, live it, breathe it. I worked security at night. I was training. I like my life revolved around that world. Anyway, I did security for an event here in Melbourne. It's actually one of the, was a stand-a-man fight against Zenny Reynolds, I think, at Festival Hall. And a good friend of mine, James Patterson, who we used to live together at one point. James and I used to train again together. We worked a bit of security around town. We got called up to do this event. And from there, I met Silvio. Silvio had just taken over Blitz from John Will, who started the magazine, obviously. And, the magazine was a quarterly, was on newsprint. It was very, very niche. And I come on board and I had a very commercial mind. I've always been a bit of a marketer and a bit commercially minded. So I started working for Blitz. And I think I just brought a different aspect or mindset because I was the reader. And this is what I always used to, whenever you're marketing, even your schools, for you guys watching or guys in business, don't market. And the first person you have to impress is yourself. So if you design an ad or you put something out, go, would that inspire me to buy the product or to train at that gym? You have to not be the expert. You have to be the novice and think about everything from a beginner's mind, or have that enthusiasm of like, this is what I want. This is go back to that mindset. Anyway, I started to bring more of a commercial flavor, I believe, to it. I remember we used to put we put Van Damme on the cover, and there was a bit of pushback on that because it's like, oh, he's not really a martial artist. He only did ballet. Copped all of that, and I'm like, I don't care. The guy's in the cinema. Things are popular for a reason. Everyone can go, oh, you've got to be the purist. And that's fine if you want to live on a bowl of rice and live in a cave. But if you want nice things, you have to follow some ways the things that are more populous. So, putting Van Damme on the cover and stuff like that, even, Bruce Lee, he's always going to be popular. doing surveys, reader surveys was an idea that I come up with. I'm like, we can sit here and think about what we want. And I do this with my students, We can think about what we want to teach our students, but what do they enjoy and what do they want to do? That's where that's how you're going to grow your business. Okay. So my students, I've always done student surveys with, like I did reader surveys at Blitz. What's your favorite part? What do you want to see more of? Stories. Do you like to read 6-page stories or 2-page stories? Mm-hmm. Like I formulated a lot of the style of the magazine from what I was responsible for, not from me, but from feedback from the readers, because it's their magazine, not ours. We're putting a magazine out for people to entertain, to educate. Yes. How we do that needs to be to their palate. It needs to be tasty for them. You put something out that's for you, they're going to go, oh, it's good for you, but I'm not interested. So I believe a lot of the growth is, and that's pretty much how International Kickboxer magazine was spawned, because I did a survey and there was a column in Blitz called Ringside Roundup, and it was one of the most popular parts of the magazine. A lot of people were getting Blitz to see the ratings. There was a star ratings back then that Bob Jones and the corporation were putting out, the kickboxing news. And I'm like, they're two separate markets. Kickboxing, traditionalists. We can make two products here. Yeah, sure. It's not being disloyal to anyone. Nope. We're going to give a better martial art product for the traditional martial arts, and we're going to give a progressive magazine for the people that want it. These days it'll be UFC, but who reads magazines anymore? You know what I mean? So, and I went through all that era of seeing UFC come up, and even myself thought, man, I don't know, this is not. Who kicks people when they're down? And once you knock someone down, you don't jump on them and start elbowing them in the head. It's not traditional. And so there's so many arguments we can get into, or well, not arguments, but
thoughts and opinions.
Yep. So growing the magazine and how I formulated things were derived from surveys. Then obviously the internet took off. I sound old, man. I'm so
you're out.
Man, what's going on?
So people will Google this. How old is this fucking guy? This is crazy.
So man, I remember I used to have to go to when I started at Blitz with Silvio, and there was only me and Silvio at the start. 2 men, 1 phone, 2 chairs, 1 desk. That was it. That's how we started. And there was a fax. Someone to ring us, send you a fax. I used to have to run down Bayswater, because it was in Bayswater Shopping Centre, run to the travel agent, because he's the only one in the shops that had a fax machine, and get the fax off the fax machine and run back. But, we worked through all that.
Wow.
And again, fond memories. But going on to what I was saying about the internet, then we started to have readers forums, online. People were engaging. There was no social media. This is before Facebook and, what was the other one? MySpace. What the hell? So, forums were where everyone had their say. Now everyone's an expert. Forums. But back then you had to get on the forum, and if you were a dickhead, everyone's calling you out for being a dickhead because you're on the forum with people that actually knew what they're talking about. So, we formulated a lot of our strategies by listening, for me anyway, and I still do, by listening to the consumer, listening to people. So that if I can give anyone one bit of advice, it's like, you may be an expert, but unless you want to be your own biggest customer, listen to what other people are going to want and give them that in a way that is still good for your integrity. Like don't water it down. This is a thing with martial arts in some ways, and Kyokushin not, but many have been watered down to a point where it's a joke. It's a joke. Sure. If you can kick a bottle top off a bottle, you're an expert or whatever. It's like, it's just not what it's about for me.
No. So, hey, that's that in depth there, and I'll give you a breather. That in depth there, as simple as that came out for you because you were so invested in it, and it was your day to day. For others that listen, comprehend a couple of things there. No internet, fax machine, telephone, not mobile, not SMS. These angles here, I would hear Silvio and Mark at times when, you know, I was one of the account managers I was the account manager for Blitz for 2 to 3 years there. And, you know, the simple explanations, or the simple things of like, hold on, don't give me your excuses, or don't, you know, of this, that, or the other. You want to do it the way that we started, or do you want to, you know, appreciate what you have now? And that's a thing I took from your management style as well. Just cut the bullshit, because I can tell you how it was. and how you would. I remember one time you told me, like, you used like, you know, just the CRM system, you know, the CRM of the data, of the address, of the contact, and all that stuff. And you were like, mate, have a look at this. And you pulled out a book, and you're like, this is their CRM. There, it says this.
Write it on the card. That was it.
And it was on a card, yeah. And then you had a card, and then you flicked through it, and you had them all. And then you had a business cards, everyone's. But what you did was you still conducted yourself the way it worked, and the way it you know, you did it so well.
Got to progress. I mean, I'm you know, I still, you know, I'm a bit of a dinosaur with technology, I suppose. I struggle with things, and you know, I left school in year 10. I was 15. My stepfather said, hey, how old do you have to be to leave school? And I said, I think 16. He goes, how old are you? And I'm like, 15. He goes, close enough. You start working with me now, you know. That was my life, man. Yeah, it's like, yeah. You know, I'm not what big. I love everyone, and you got to be kind and all that, but don't be a sook with stuff. You know, these days it's like, if you say something harsh to someone, all of a sudden they're running around and it's bullying. Bully. Maybe it's not bullying. Maybe you're a dickhead, and I've just told you that you're a dickhead. It's like, well, that's your fault, not mine. Don't be stupid, and I won't tell you you're stupid. You know, so you know, I'm very much straight, but at the same time, if I'm, you know, and you and I have had the conversations where you've stood there and you've gone, no, listen, I'm like, you know, you're right. You call me on it, and I'll call you on it, and that's the reality of life. You know, we're all in relationships. There's not a marriage in this world that doesn't have some disagreement. There's, you know, people have disagreements, but doesn't mean you don't love that person. You can have a disagreement and still very much love the person, as long as you're wanting the best for them and you're trying to get your point across. And because I'm Italian, it's like sometimes people mistake passion for anger. You know, I'm just passionate about what I believe in, and I elevate my voice, and you know, I believe with everything, you know, that I am, that we can do better. We should do better. In the gym here now, I'm teaching a whole, you know, my club is a whole new generation of people that I've had to learn to adapt my communication skills towards. Also, I'm not going to water it down to the point where I'm running around high-fiving them, and I'll always say, if I correct you, it's for two reasons. Number one, I want the best thing for you. Number two, I will never compromise my teaching or my style. I'm not going to tell you you're awesome to make you feel good, and then my product, my teaching, my system is going to be laughed at because I'm telling you you're good, and you're going to run around and think you're awesome, go in a tournament, get punched up, and then you're like, no good. Oh, you told me I was good. There's got to be, in life, you got to be called on your shortfalls sometimes. And, you know, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but we all got to do it. It's just delivering. Sometimes delivery is my delivery is a little bit too direct.
And I think, well, hey, and with that, it accounts for the fact that this is full time for you. You know, and I say that, and I'll allude to some things here. It's full time for you. It's been that for a while, as such. You know, 10 years or so. With respect to a gym and transitioning and taking things to the next level. Now, what I'm getting at is a lot of martial artists, full-time job, go to dojo, an hour and a half here or there. I don't need this shit. Please spare me. You know, I'll rock up when I rock up. And, you know, we've spoken about this before, where there is the traditionalist, there is the hardcore way of it. There is the ones that are now just mixing it in to be fit, healthy, and all the above. Now, you see it. This is the thing. And people, other listeners that have full-time facilities see it, are invested in it, understand it, get feedback on it. And then there's, again, dojos or martial art schools that are just doing it for 2 times a week, 3 times a week, all sorts, all good. But what I'm getting to now is that's the difference in what's happening to the industry now. As you were ahead of the game when you built Hammer's Gym in like just down the road when we came to you in 2012, there was a gym area, there was a martial arts area, there was your office admin area, you know, and you were starting to turn things and start to figure out, hey, hold on a sec here, this can become something bigger and better. What I'm swinging into now, your angle as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, as a, you know, we call it dojo operator, but for you, this is something that you've had to invest your savings, your life, and all that. You know, when you made that jump, or when you were seeing these things happening, what triggered you? What motivated you? Did you see something, or is it something that you're like, hey, this is where it's heading?
Yeah. Okay. So I'll go back to, I had the old gym, and I started to see, you know, martial arts was generally taught in school halls or scout halls or whatever.
Yes.
That's where we all come from. You know, Hanshi Eddie built the dojo in Elwood, like that little Japan right there in Elwood. Loved it. The atmosphere, everything was on his, and that was like, wow, it's separate. Went out of a hall, started to build purpose-built karate dojo. So then I started to look, you know, because of my experience, or because of my world evolving around martial arts. It wasn't just Australian martial arts. I was talking to people overseas. You know, we saw the emergence of the UFC, you know, the Gracies, you know, academies were opening up. You know, professional martial art associations were coming. You know, then there was the door knockers. Everyone calls them the door knockers, you know, knocking door to door, selling karate, what have you.
Right.
So there was there's a change in the industry. And I thought, we are a health and fitness business like any other gym.
Yes.
So how can we operate professionally?
Yep.
And give the public what they expect? They're going to walk in and go, you got to think, again, go back to that beginner's mind. If you walk into a dojo, you're like, oh, I'm going to try that. I've seen it on the TV. I'll do a bit of that. You're going to go look, research where they are. That's marketing. So you need to maybe marketing on point. But then when the people walk in, what sort of reception are they given? You know, there's something that I say, martial arts is the only, I suppose, service where the new customer is treated the worst. So they come in, yep, go to the back, don't say anything, shut up, and watch the people at the front. The people at the front are the longest serving consumers that have been there forever, and half of them don't even pay because they don't reckon they should, and everything's heaped on them. So old mate at the back, who's just been asked the $50 of his credit card, is told to shut up, doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, oh shit. And everyone at the front, they're going to go, I didn't get the attention. Why am I at the back? I'm the customer, you know. So I had to change, look at the mentality and go, we need to make people who are not martial artists come into our dojos, our gyms, and feel like they can compare our service with Fitness First. So are your bathrooms clean? Is your reception, you know, professional? You know, all of that. So that's why I built Hammer's Gym number 1, the original. The first thing I did was I've got to have proper bathrooms, change areas, lockers, because that's what they have at gyms. Then the reception area, I've got to have merchandise. I need to be professional at the front. You know, I need to get I got a lot of this through working in the industry, but also because I had a nightclub. Again, to digress, I built a nightclub in St Kilda that I had for 7 years, and I built it on a shoestring budget, and I did it all half-baked, and I lost all my money 7 years later. And I did my research as to why that club went under. There's a number of reasons. Number one was when I opened it, the marketing didn't meet the expectation. So it was marketed beautifully. People come and they're going, oh, well, that's, you know, it doesn't look flash. The marketing was flash, but the experience, well, the venue wasn't as flash. So you got to level up. You got to do good marketing and have a good product. And I learned that. So that failed business was a $250,000 you know, business degree for me. So I took it to the next. I'm like, when I open my gym, when I open my full-time center, not going to cut corners, new equipment, new mats, full-size ring, painted, bathrooms finished. Everyone's like, I will finish that later. It's like when you move in a house, I'll do it later. You never do it later. Everything stays undone. And that's the same thing we did here. When we moved here, Paddy, we moved. Like, we're not opening until everything's finished. Your trophies on the wall, my mats are down, pictures are on the wall, everything's straight. Never, you only get, as they say, you only get one chance to make a first impression, and that's what you got to be. You got to blow people's socks off when they walk in the door. So going back to that first dojo, when I opened it, or the gym, people walked in and there was nothing like it. There was not a full-time center that had a bit of a weight setup, that had a full-size ring, that had proper showers, you know, and then no one had done that. And then, you know, they say, what do they say? You know, copying is the best form of flattery, or whatever. Duplication is the best form of flattery. A lot of people sort of copied the idea because it wasn't expensive to do. It's a factory. It's predominantly empty. I just cleaned it, painted it. So I built that on probably, I don't know, at the time was maybe 50 grand plus. But then going back to how do I improve? So again, listening to students, listening to my market.
Yes.
We all lose students. They come, they train, and they leave. From corporate, I learned with yourself, and this is something that you know, exit strategy, exit interviews. Why are you leaving? I get more money, blah, blah, blah. So you learn to improve your business, not from the people that are there happy. You learn from the people that are leaving that are not happy. They're the ones that will give you the harsh reality. And some people can't have the harsh reality. They don't want to hear it because they get, it comes back to be, oh, he said I'm no good. It's bullying. No, it's no good. You're no good because maybe you did something wrong. Right. So I used to, any student that used to leave, I'd say, why are they leaving? That would go, oh, I wanted, you know, the training was too hard or this or that. Well, I'm not going to really water that down much more. But I used to get a lot of people saying they were leaving because they wanted to go to a weights gym. I just want to do weights for a while. Thank you very much. I'm going to go bigger and better, and I'm going to give them a weights gym. So there's no one reason less for them to leave. You want to, oh, you want to do weights? We'll go down there. You don't have to train in the classes for a while if you and you know what? It stands true, because now there's people that started with me in the Muay Thai, and then they just want to get shredded for summer and go to stereo, whatever the hell they do. So they just go in the gym, you know? So, you know, to me, it's like I learned from the people leaving what I do right, what I do wrong. The things I'm doing right, I'll do better. And that's this. You see that? That's my curriculum. I didn't open a gym and just go, I know everything. Yep. I put a lot of time and effort into structured, systematic teaching and learning. And, you know, now, you know, and that's it. You know, Muay Thai was very, we don't do that grading. Yeah. We don't do line work. I'm like, really? So a lot of people were thinking that they're better than every other martial art in the world that does gradings and line work? Please spare me. So I was with Bob Jones started it, and I've done it and continued on and brought in, you know, my style has all the Muay Thai, you know, techniques covered. But I also pay homage to my Kyokushin. We still do palm heel strikes. We do lapel grabs, and, you know, we do crescent kicks. And we do axe kicks. They're not Thai boxing. But you know what? They're the type of kicks that people, when they watch a ring fight or UFC, if someone does a spinning heel kick or axe kick, it's a bit better than just, you know, standing there left, right. So, again, give people what they want, teach what they see, you know, bring things to your teaching, bring things to your business. Don't make it about you. Make it about the people you want to be a part of your business. They're the ones you got to impress.
Well, there you go. Listen to that. So Hammer's just going to invoice everyone $99 for that. Hey, that's invaluable stuff from someone that's been in the industry for so long and seen it all, to be brutally honest. And that's why I said I was trying to get you on a while ago, but, you know, due to time and so on. So sharing that and sharing as much as you have. And as I say, I look at the clock. It's 3:15. I think we started at, you know, 2 o'clock. We're already gone over an hour and a bit. And I'm not going to, No. This is what I said to you at the start. This will go for how it goes, and we'll roll with it. But you've given us enough of your time. You know, let's maybe summarize 5 or 10 minutes here, because as I say to many that have an experience like yourself, I'm not trying to catch your life in 1 hour. I'm just getting people to, you know, that don't get to see you, that don't get to talk to you. I don't have a friendship and family mateship that I have with you. And, you know, there's a lot of people that see you in certain avenues. And like I said, with like all the other hunchies and conchos, you know, I haven't spoken to ever in 10 or 15, 20 years yet. So much knowledge, so much intel, so much love and energy that is needed right now. And you're someone, you know, like that it's like, right, give me a minute when I get a minute, but you've got my attention and you can help. Hammer, the next 5 or 10 minutes, you know, with what's happening, obviously in this world, but you know, you've innovative in the way of what you've exclusively told us earlier in the podcast. You know, next year, 2021, going forward, you know, you've got the best facility in Australia by far. You have always and you've shown me and my wife in ways how to go, boop, oh, you want to cut? Oh, boop, oh, you want to keep cut? And you just keep going. What are you going to continue to do? Or what do you not do? Because I know we know what you're so invested in love, but it's how do you continue to rise up? Is it something that is from your roots, from your, you know, your family, your tradition? Is it something that you can share with others that you just continue to aspire to? Or what is it? What is it? Well, what makes you go?
I think, you know, and just there's just one person I want to mention as well that I neglected earlier, and it's just come to my mind. Cameron Quinn as well. And you talk about the poster of Sosai there. You know, he helped me always at Blitz. So Cameron, if you're watching us, thank you very much. Always love and respect. Muay Thai Systems International is something now that I'm working on, and it's a teaching system for Muay Thai and a grading system for Muay Thai that any gym or any club can integrate. So if you're an instructor and you're teaching Kyokushin or you're teaching Taekwondo, you're teaching boxing, whatever it might be, and you want to plug into another system, well, this is something that I'm now putting out as a unified teaching system for other gyms to plug into. Predominantly Muay Thai gyms, but if people have an interest, I'm doing that. And we look like hopefully getting our first New Zealand club. We've got, you know, probably 10, 15 clubs around Australia, and we've only launched it a few months. So how do I, and why has that come about? Because I suppose I don't stop thinking. And if I could be not honest, but if I could share an insight into me, because I suppose that's what it's all about.
Of course it is.
I always had low self-esteem. And I suppose part of what has made me achieve what I have is the fact that I've always tried to prove that I'm better than, I suppose, what I was told. So I'm like, you're saying I'm never going to be anything? I'll be something. I'll show you what I can be. You can accept people's criticisms and make them define you, or you can redefine yourself and go, you can believe me to be whatever you want, but I'm going to be this version of me, and I'm going to be true to that. The other thing is for me, you know, in a time now when it's, you know, through the pandemic and everything, it is a hard time. You can sit and stew in your own thoughts and you know, be sad of you can't go out and this and that. And we all have those thoughts, but I limit those thoughts by replacing them with creative thoughts on how I can do what I'm doing better. So I continually go, well, how can I level up? How can I make what I'm doing even better? And, you know, I started doing the masks, you know, the face masks. Yeah, straight away, bang, face mask. Then I'm like, we got to raise revenue, hoodies. Now today I'm going to work on summer range. I'm going to do, you know, a new designer T-shirt, gold, you know, and you know, it's going to be, you know, through strength, you know, and adversity. So strength through adversity. It's an adverse time now, but we're going to get stronger. So that's going to be a limited edition T-shirt I'm bringing out. You know, that is going to hopefully encapsulate this whole year. So from now on, you know, when people say, what sort of a day you're having, if I'm having a crappy day, I'm just not going to say, oh, it's a shit day. I'm going to say 2020. That's going to mean shit for me. So whenever something's bad, you know, how you doing? 2020. It's very bad. I think just whatever you're doing, everyone has something to offer, you know, and even encouraging students within the gym to help. You know, there's students that have only trained with me for 3, 4, 6 months. I'm like, oh, I can't help. I go, you can help. Someone walks in here, you can help by making them feel welcome. You can help by encouraging them to help throw a good push kick or a jab. You know how to do that. You've done it now for how long? I told you you're doing it well. Share the knowledge, build them up. Building other people up helps to build you up. And I believe I've got better because people have allowed me to get better and helped me. And helped me, and that's why I said I write those names down from my early days. Those early memories. They've made me feel better as a person, and making me feel better as a person has allowed me to be able to achieve more in my life. So if I've encapsulated all, that's it.
Hammer, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And,
my pleasure.
You and I have had our chats when we get our opportunities. But to be honest, was really looking forward to this because I know I could sit in your office when I'd finished training and I could have our D&Ms as such. And before you know it, I get home at midnight and my wife would be like, excuse me, what's going on? Are you okay? And I'm like, I was just talking to Hammer for a bit. Why? What's the time? It's 12 o'clock at night. So, you know, we've been through that. We've shared the stories and so on. You're an integral part of our family. You know, in respect of, you know, my wife and I meeting at Blitz, and all the above. But, you know, your positive energy as such towards what's been happening and, you know, being a part of Hammer's Gym and all the people that get to watch us from Hammer's Gym. You know, there's a saying in Kyokushin that we have, you know, we're truly blessed to be lineaged with Hanshi, Eddie, Emin, Bill, Polly, and then all the other Kohai. Your Kohai here as such is Hammer, and you're blessed. You're absolutely blessed because, you know, you don't figure it out. And Shihan would say, you're not going to figure it out until you go somewhere else. And as they say, the grass might be greener somewhere else. And then, you know, so I'm just sharing that on a personal note. And, you know, again, hopefully we can catch you when things are firing all cylinders. You have so much on. We'll keep an eye out for things. This is why I wanted the shuffle. It's not just Kyokushin. Yes, you had a percentage of it and that influenced you, but look what it's done. And that's the cool bit about it. So thank you for sharing that journey.
Thanks for your time, Paddy, and everyone thank you to everyone that has, you know, done the marathon and listened to this whole thing. You've done well. Thank you, Uz.
Big Uz. Thanks, Hammer. Thanks, listeners. We'll see you soon. Good job.